Welcome to 10K Tuesday.
All right, so today I'm coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia. I have flown down from Virginia Beach to Atlanta to take part in an event sponsored by Cy. And he is the trader that I have been following. Look, the dude just turned 23 on the 27th of May. He has made over $60 million just this year between January and not even June yet. $60 million. And in fact, he's made more than that. He just posted something on Instagram where he had an account posting over $78 million in it, give or take $18 million. I mean, good Lord. I mean, this is incredible, life-changing money. Just a fraction of that. Throwing all those crazy numbers out there, the accomplishments that he has made in the realm of day trading. I am trying to follow his practices. The advice he gives is absolutely free. The events he holds for people are absolutely free. Just make your way here. On his behalf, he cannot make it any easier for you. He's bent over backwards to make that happen through sharing his knowledge and then holding free events, which are an immense expense to him that he gets nothing out of except for the satisfaction of helping people. So I think that's super cool of him. So if I've got to fly down to Atlanta and stay and eat and take time off of work, that's the sacrifice that I'm willing to make. So at any rate, for those who watch this channel and appreciate the content that I put out, I am all about 10K Tuesdays, and so 10K, I want to run 10K every Tuesday. These days, I'm lucky to get it in once a week, but it's better than nothing. All right. Also, I would like to make 10K on a Tuesday, so that's where I got the 10K Tuesday thing. And so day trading, it's going to have to be my vehicle for manifesting that thing to happen. 10K on a Tuesday. If it happens on a Thursday, okay. But at any rate, it's going to happen through day trade. If you want to know more about Cy, by all means, you need to check him out and follow his stuff, his YouTube, his Instagrams. And if you can make it to a live event, that's awesome. I'm so stoked. I'm going to be doing that today, and I'll try to capture as much as I can, while being at that event and trying not to look like an asshole. All right, it's about 5:30 here in the morning on a Sunday. Leaving out of Buckhead. Oh, here we go. Buckhead. So if I had to meet him all over again, I would say thank you, thank you, thank you. I think back to what an absolute knucklehead I was when I was 23 years old, and the poise and emotional and mental stability that he has to do all this and share it with others and not absolutely freak out. To host all these people for free and coordinate it all when he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. And one of the really cool things about the event is meeting people. I met a barber, I met a prison guard, and I met not one but two acrobats. And just far out. It just goes to show that we all have dreams. Everybody was so cool and so nice and spoke the same language as me. Like, this trading thing is pretty lonely if you don't know a fellow trader. And they're speaking like, oh my gosh, I understand everything you're saying, and you actually want to hear what I have to say about these charts and support and resistance, and you're not rolling your eyes like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I was just surrounded by it. And this is so cool.
And I took away, by the way, I did take notes during this event. And so I'd like to go ahead and share them with you. Okay, so my big takeaways from Sai's event in Atlanta recently. So first and foremost, he said that trading is about decision making and emotional control. You essentially plan your trade and trade your plan, and do your best not to deviate unless there's some real justification that's not emotional. And that's essentially what separates the good traders from the gamblers. And what he said was he essentially gets up in the morning, he draws the lines for support and resistance, and then he sets alerts, the places where he has deemed worthy of alerts, which is typically support and resistances, and then he walks away. And so that's going to go more to some of the rest of the points here in the event that we'll get as we go on down the list. So essentially what's made him an 8-figure trader is decision making and emotional control. And so also he mentioned something, he didn't say where he got the information, but he said it takes 3 days for the brain to fully comprehend just what in the hell is going on, or to grasp something. I wish he would have gone into more detail on that and cite the reference where he got that information, but it kind of makes sense because the secret to his success is that he trades on the longer time frames, the daily, the 4 hours. The trends are much stronger and they're harder to break, as opposed to the lower time frames like the 5 minute, the 15 minute, 1 minute. He doesn't really hang out in those areas too long. He uses those areas to fine-tune his entries based on all the videos I've watched. The 3 days to fully comprehend what's going on, yeah, I can get that because once upon a time he said he used to never trade on Mondays. Essentially based on that, things are starting to form around Monday. Tuesday they might be getting, forming a recognizable pattern, and then Wednesday maybe execution for him. All right, next one. All right, so the next thing he said in sequence is deal with your shit. Psychological. He has a lot of trauma in his life. He came up really hard, and hell, even mentioned that he was recently hurt and betrayed by somebody very close to him. You'd think somebody with $100 million in the bank has no worries, and obviously that's not true. And I imagine that he's had people really use him. I have no idea how he got hurt, but he mentioned it. And whether he's super rich or not, I feel for somebody that's been betrayed. And I've been betrayed or felt betrayed. And I imagine it's a real human emotion that most of us deal with. So anyway, deal with your shit. That can come in many different forms. But, like if you're just like, I don't know, man, if you have some sort of addiction or something, that's going to bleed over into, your life, whether it's working or trading or any of that. You think it won't. You think maybe we can compartmentalize, and, that's not going to affect me. Well, it will. Or I'm a functioning this or that or the other. Sooner or later something's got to give, and based on a man, I estimate that he will have, or he's on the cusp of having made $200 million in trading. I mean, I'm just going off the math from $100 million last year to $60 million this year, and it's now June 2nd as I'm making this video. So when he says deal with your shit, your psychological baggage, whatever's troubling you, I can buy into that. Speaking of which, if you have some issues like if you would like to give up, say, drinking, smoking, any kind of drug or nicotine, I do have a course available. It is for free. It's in the link below this video. I truly hope it helps you out. That's why I made it, just to put something good out in the world. It doesn't cost you a dime. People pay thousands of dollars to go to rehab and all this stuff, and I've got it right in there for you. We're all works in progress, but it will help somebody. If it just helps one person, suits me. So deal with your shit. I'll give you another example. Like if you're constantly, arguing with your spouse, couples counseling, great thing. There's no shame in that. So anyway, deal with your shit. From Cy. All right, next up, keep all your stats. So he's a big fan of record keeping. And one thing that I've noticed across the board with many of the famous traders that we've all seen on YouTube, that is one thing that they all have in common, is that they document all their trades, why they took the trade, why they won, why they lost, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And one thing that they'll sort of say is, your losses are lessons, but your wins are lessons too, sure. But a lot of us, I think, when we lose, we just sort of sweep it under the carpet. We kind of pretend it doesn't happen, and we'll get it back on the next one. This is one thing they all say, is keep stats on all of your trades. All right, tune this thing in here. Wait for things to correlate. Don't just jump in because I think it's gonna ... That is something that he is an absolute master of, is his patience. And that's evidenced by, you can count the trades that he takes on a monthly basis on like one hand. Most of us are click, 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 click. We are just slaves to that dopamine machine that trading is, the feeling of the highs and lows that you get. And somehow he's built up immunity to it. And I guess because he's been in our shoes and he's somehow, transcended that. Back to rule number 1, trading is about decision making and emotional control. So this all comes back to, why and how he sets his alerts. So everything comes to him as opposed to him chasing after it. When his alerts hit, then he can pull up the charts on his phone or whatever he's using. He uses the phone most of the time. And then he can check and see, what is what. So take that for what it's worth. Wait for things to correlate. Also, while it's on my mind, speaking of correlation, he likes to see things line up. So if it's green on the daily, the 4 hour, the 1 hour, that's correlation. That's kind of like 3 levels of confirmation to know that now might be a good time to jump in. Well, of course, and if you're selling, if it's red on, the daily, the 4 hour, the 1 hour, the 15 minute, all that good stuff. That is also correlation. So wait for the evidence is the moral of the story. Don't go off your gut. How's that been working out for you? Have a plan for both breakouts and sell-offs. So, that just sort of backs up into what he was talking about for, wait for it. Wait for it to show you what it's going to do. And of course, in his videos, he shows you the techie stuff. When we saw him there in Atlanta, he is just, essentially 99, 98% psychological and mindset stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of hard to give a big techie demonstration, and he owes us nothing because he's already given it to us in the videos. He stated, hey, the videos that I show you are exactly the way I trade. He couldn't help you anymore unless he showed up at your house and looked over your shoulder. So have a plan for breakouts and sell-offs. So you'll see that in his videos. He'll basically say, if it hits this where I'm setting this alert, okay, that's a pretty good indication it's going to go up, and I'll probably be a buyer right there. But it could fall off right here, and if it does that, then this will be the way I trade it as a sell-off. So enough being said, plan for both, and that that also eliminates that I think it's gonna. Wait for it to do it, and then have a plan for either which way it goes. And then of course that goes back to drawing up your charts, which takes, less than 5 minutes, using support and resistance, and we can all go off of there. Okay, so a subsection to this is wait for it to come to you, and there's time. Kind of a little A and B there for that. Wait for it to come to you. So that comes down to setting his alerts. He emphasizes the hell out of that, set your alerts. So, if you're using TradingView, which 99% of us probably do, you get like 3 free trade alerts And then after that, it charges you. And so I'm actually still in the free version, and that's sort of sufficient for me. But I might go ahead and pony up and start subscribing, and so I can get just gobs of alerts like he does. I mean, if you want to do and have the success that somebody has, one, do the things that they're doing. You want to mimic and model people that have been where you are and are currently at where you want to be. That's not rocket surgery right there. So Sai is certainly one of us from that perspective. So there's time. That's one of the keys to his success, is his patience, and to be able to just let things come to you and know there's time. And in fact, he's even mentioned I'm sure I've seen like all of his videos that, if he has a problem, it would be FOMO, fear of missing out and chasing things. And so when you have the mentality that there's time, things can kind of come to you. And then, of course, use your alerts and walk away. All right, got this thing tuned in. Have a mindset of abundance. That comes with, if I'm going to interject my own stuff into it, and that's talking about frequency. If we choose to always be in a better place, we're going to have more options introduced to us because we're in a mindset of expansion. So if a lot of people just think, there's this piece of pie and there's only X amount of slices. And once the pie is gone, that's it. And that is a scarcity mindset, and that's what most of us are programmed into. So mindset of abundance is there's enough for everybody. Just because Sai is an excellent trader doesn't mean that he's eating up all of our money, or if we become good traders, that's less money for him to make. That's not abundance. So there's enough for everybody. With trillions of dollars in the market, there's enough for everybody. And if we have mindsets of abundance and that trust and the faith that it's going to come to us, that would help shape us into better traders. And it's coming from him, who is among the best of the best. Have a mindset of abundance. So that plays, got this tuned in here. So that plays into try to become a better person. So, with the higher frequencies, attracting better things, having a mindset of abundance, if we do focus on trying to become better people, we should become better traders. And I think a lot of folks, certainly me in the beginning, where I just want to be a better trader. I just want to make that money. And if we take time to work on ourselves, then that should come, because we should attract it, and then we should be, doing the habits and so forth that the really good traders do. So if we set ourselves up for success with simplicity, knowing, hey, I just want to be a better person. So just going off of what Sai said, try to become a better person. Well, why wouldn't you? What's the downside? Why wouldn't you try? And if we can set ourselves up for success by trying, what would be a formula? So in the spirit of Sai, try to become a better person. Well, let's set ourselves up for success in order to become better people. One is to know that there's a frequency chart and where we are at in that frequency chart. If we are below neutral, we need to just sort of be conscious of our feelings. Hey, I'm somewhere in the anger category for some reason, man. I need to get right. And then take steps to elevate your frequency. I think that's very key in terms of becoming a better person. Of course, we can all do good deeds and we can help the old lady cross the road, etc., etc. But I think we really want to be mindful of where we are on the frequency chart. I know I drone on and on and on about that in my videos, but I'm not wrong. Okay? If you're constantly pissed off, that's not good. That's not going to help you become a better person. If you look at the frequency chart, you'll see that is a contraction. It's basically a funnel. If you're constantly pissed, angry, scared, apathetic, your options narrow. It is contraction. We want expansion. The happier you are, the more joyful, reasoning, things of this nature, your options, they expand exponentially. So if we have pillars that we operate off of, I'm inserting my stuff into this, eat clean, train hard, and sleep well. Those things right there, I feel like they're setting me up for success. They're helping me, no doubt about it. Take that and run with it. Awesome. So one of the things he talked about last was always have a foundation. Actually, he weaved that in and out of the presentation a good bit. In fact, he told a story about some folks that he knew that made a really big splash back in crypto in the early 2020s, 2021, something like that. They made like $4 million, and they pissed it all away. Didn't have anything to show for it. He said one of the guys hit him up and said, "Dude, I'm down to my last 15K. Please teach me how to trade." Out of $4 million. This is something that happens over and over again. Lottery winners are the classic story on that. We must be ready to receive these things, these blessings. We got to earn it in order to keep it. And, well, I think that dovetails nicely into try to become a better person. So it's kind of like planting a tree. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. If we put our reps in and we're doing the right things and we're learning from our losses and we have decided to become better people, I think that's what he's talking about with creating a foundation. If he has a loss, I mean, when he loses millions. But because he's created such a strong foundation consistently, over the past 5 years, he says, that they don't faze him. I mean, because he's got a system, he sticks to it. That all comes back around to decision making and emotional control. Basically, just sort of need to scale that to and proportionalize it with what we're doing, and just trade in that way and behave in that way to make these losses learning lessons and not devastations. Anyway, I had a fabulous time at the event. I got to meet the man. I got to shake his hand. Honestly, I went because I wanted that energy to rub off on me, some sort of osmosis. And all the things that he said at that event, he has mentioned at one time or another in all of his videos. He condensed this to one presentation. And I did my best to take notes on it. Well, use it to help myself grow. And of course, if somebody else out there can glean something from it, awesome. More power to you. And by all means, why don't you hit that like button if it did that for you, and consider becoming a subscriber. Try to put this stuff out for you. It doesn't cost you a dime, means the world to me. All right, well, take it easy. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.